I know what you're thinking of doing. But they don't come back the same.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Film Seizure at the Movies.
Hi.
Hey,
I'm
who is
here.
this? Oh my God,
I'm here.
There's a guy here.
I saw a movie, Geoff.
Is this your first movie of 2019?
In the theater?
Of any new movie of 2019?
Yeah, maybe. I don't. Yeah,
You
maybe.
got a lot of catching up to do here, bub.
I feel like that's not true. I've seen some things.
You've seen some things, but you don't want to talk about anything.
But I can't think of anything I've seen in the theater this year. But I have a bad memory. I'll have to go check my calendar
as he's popping a beer.
Yeah,
I have a bad
memory.
Anyway, so we saw the new version of Pet Sematary, but before we dive into what we thought about this movie, get some of the administrative beeswax out of the way. New episodes of Film Seizure, the actual podcast, starring me, Geoff Arbuckle, and that guy over there, Jason Oliver.
Me.
Yeah, that guy. We do that every Wednesday. You can catch those episodes Wednesday morning. And every Monday, you can listen to episodes of Monster Mondays with me. And then we do the Film Seizure at the Movies when there is stuff to talk about. But you can catch those episodes at filmseizure.com. You can listen to stuff on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. We upload the stuff to YouTube. And there's some episodes over on TuneIn. But
I think this is the only 2019 movie I've seen in the theater so far. I saw a lot of 2018 movies in 2019.
yeah, because you saw The Favorite.
I saw lots of stuff.
Right.
But yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to know a little bit more about what I personally thought of the 1989 Pet Sematary, turn back the clock a few days to Monster Mondays, the April 1st edition. This is no joke. This is no fools. No fooling.
We ain't fooling.
We ain't fooling.
We don't do no fooling.
Pet Sematary 1989 was my focus for this week. I did that because I knew Pet Sematary 2019 was coming out this week.
You are just...
I'm on the ball.
So with it, man.
I know. So
it's actually... I actually just recently watched Pet Sematary as well.
1989?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's
not
good.
that long ago. Maybe a couple months ago.
Okay.
And I also watched Pet Sematary Part 2 not that long ago.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one that I need to revisit.
It is worth a revisit.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I know the director, Mary Lambert, still stands up to it. Still sticks up for it.
I think it is a good movie that suffered by being a bad sequel.
Okay.
If that
fair
makes
enough.
sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Let's talk a little bit about Pet Sematary 2019. A lot of talk was about this movie being kind of remade because for people our age and a little older, Pet Sematary 1989 is a lasting impression movie.
Dude, it's 30 years old.
I know, right?
And it feels still like...
Yes.
Yeah.
That's actually something that I did want to talk about later.
Okay.
But, we...
30 years old. I mean...
I know, right?
That's basically a generation.
Exactly.
That's
so,
nuts.
And the thing is, I also want to preface this by saying I am not anti-remakes. Remakes have been part of Hollywood forever. One of the supposedly greatest movies of all time, Ben-Hur, was a remake.
Yeah.
So this is not uncommon.
The Thing.
The Thing. There are several movies that are remade, readapted. How many people went, no pun intended, gaga over Star is Born?
It's like fourth time it's been made.
It's the fourth time it's been made. So it's like these things happen generationally.
Yeah.
And it's just so happens that sometimes we get to see two versions of the same story.
Sometimes dead is better. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm not anti-sequel. I wanted to go into this movie with as much of an open mind as I possibly could.
I did as well. I was actually maybe even too open because I was kind of buying into a little bit of the super scary hype.
Yeah, it was. So I think I have another question later, but for this movie, I will say here are some things that I like a little bit more than the original.
I probably have a list as well.
Jason Clarke is better than Dale Midkiff.
Agreed.
The acting is a little wooden in the original.
Yes.
And there may be a purpose for that. But that. Rachel is more of an asshole.
She is not as good as the Star Trek lady. Tasha Yar.
It's Tasha Yar. Yeah.
Diane Crosby? Diane Crosby?
Denise
Crosby. I was close.
There is a difference in her character that I feel is a disservice to this movie, but I don't know if we can really talk too much about that
Sure.
Without spoiling stuff. I don't mind the swap of the kids, which one gets affected. If you've seen the trailers, there's an opposite event that takes place.
I don't mind that either. Yeah, I think it carries more weight in this movie. I think honestly, the entire third act of this movie is better than the original.
Maybe.
With the exception of maybe a couple things that I don't think we can talk about. And also some of I hate it when remakes play on cues from the original to kind of trick the audience.
Yeah.
So while I feel like the old switcheroo was a bit of a gimmick, I liked where they went with it. And then there was some moments in the third act where I was like, oh, come on, eye roll. It's like you're trying to you're misdirecting me by making me remember another movie, which is taking me out of this movie.
Yeah, that's a fair critique. I also wish that the second trailer didn't exist.
Yes.
Because then
it would have been way more
we would have been able to get those effective bits, because the second trailer, for those people who were paying attention and had seen the original, it played out the original one.
Yep.
But then revealed that there was the swap,
which doesn't really
mean
Which is why
much.
I wish the trailer had just stuck with that, because it would have pulled the rug out from under people.
Yeah.
Which is why I didn't even want to necessarily mention it in this review that explicitly.
Yeah.
Because I think it is doing those people who maybe are coming in blind a disservice.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. As a Stephen King fan,
yeah,
how did you feel about the tone of the movie? Does it feel like a Stephen King story? There were a couple of things in particular that I caught on to that was like the obvious. They were leaning real hard on Dr. Lewis Creed being an atheist.
Oh, sure.
Which is a very King kind of trope.
I think it's one of the things the movie did a little bit better than the original, perhaps, is play up on some of the themes of is there an afterlife, is there not? Just people struggling with the concept of death, especially parents struggling with and opposing viewpoints around death and how they should raise their children, what they should tell them, and when is enough.
Yeah, in the original one, I kind of talk about it in the Monster Mondays, where it's definitely a Lewis is very clinical about about what the procedure was for church getting neutered, right? But Rachel desperately wanted him to make a promise that everything was going to be okay when he can't do that as a doctor.
Right.
And that was a very kind of in-your-face opposition. It was the easiest way to display that without having to go too deep and taking it out of the horror genre. This movie does go into that. And I think that's a little bit of a I think it does that well.
I think so too. And I think that I have some things about Zelda. I don't know if we want to talk about that right now.
Well, I know in 1989 she freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah, I think yes, that's right. And as I was thinking about the movie afterwards, I was like, is anything about this movie going to stand out for me? Like Zelda stood out for me in the 1989 version, and I don't think so. And I don't think that Zelda was as scary in this, even though they spent more time with her, and I think that's probably why. They didn't spend a ton of time on Zelda.
Well, what they did was they turned
movie.
her into a ghoul in the original.
And she's so strikingly and abruptly and jarringly frightening in the 1989 version that it sears into your brain.
Yep.
Now it could be that I was just a kid when I saw it.
It's everybody I've ever talked to about Pet Sematary. Zelda's what they bring up.
It's seared. It's like a brand.
Yeah.
It is one of those things that scars your brain in horror.
Do you think that might be a benefit that Stephen King wrote that script? That's why he reserved her?
Could be.
And that's, the guys who wrote this script are not Stephen King. I don't know.
But I do love some of the psychological play they use Zelda for in this movie. I like the idea that she thought her sister was spiteful of her health.
But that was discussed in the original movie too.
Yeah, I guess it was a little bit.
But this seems like it carries with Rachel more.
Yeah. She carries the weight more in this. And it directly affects her
every decision she could possibly make.
Right.
She is not a very good parent.
Yeah.
I mean, she has psychological issues.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I can say about this movie is that you get more Church. And Church is kind of that sidekicky kind of goblin type of thing that you kind of get a taste of in the first one, but in this one, a lot of what happens is because of Church.
Yeah.
And they do explain that well.
Yeah, I think that worked really, really well as well. Really, really well as well. Yeah. I like the use of Church, and they just did a really good job of spooking up that cat.
Yeah,
is this the second movie this year that maybe a cat stole every scene?
Oh, you're referring to a movie you haven't seen.
I haven't seen it, but I know about it.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's a cat that's mangled. They do a little bit because it's a longer haired cat, whereas the Church from the 1989 is a short haired.
Right. Yeah.
And you see its wounds, but they're easily cleaned up.
And they're matted.
In this one, it's matted and it's gross, and it's that cat looks like it is death warmed up.
Yeah.
It's I mean, when you get into the third act and you get into this movie follows the same beats. If you've seen the original one, you know that one child dies.
Right.
Lewis can't bear after being so kind of stoic and very clinical about death, he can't handle death when it's close to him.
Well, going into the truck accident, I was really kind of questioning why this movie was even being made.
That was my big concern at the end of the day was, did this have to be remade? But what they do differently and the time that you get with the returning child,
it works.
It's effective.
Yeah, it works really well.
I mean, there are some things that I would have been like, I'm better off without that. But everything with child coming back and existing again, they spend so much more time on.
Yeah.
And it is unnerving.
Yes. There's more cognizance, and that makes it very, very scary.
Yeah, and I believe that is a better adaptation of the novel than Stephen King adapted for himself by just bringing back a little zombie.
Did you do any wikiing on the novel? I haven't read the novel since I was maybe 12.
Cinefix does a What's the Difference series, and they talked about Pet Sematary a month ago or something, and they talked about the difference when a human was buried in the Pet Sematary, what happens.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And that they are not ghoulish, cannibal, zombie-like creatures like King portrayed in his own movie.
Yeah.
They are thinking. They are mischievous, and they're calculating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, so, I mean, I think that there's the reason why this movie was remade.
Yeah.
Was that we can do that third act better.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, now that we've kind of talked about what we liked about the movie.
What didn't we?
Well, not necessarily what we didn't like, because I'm afraid that might be that might start traipsing into the sour ground of spoilers.
Yeah, I think I'll stay away from the ending.
Yeah.
I didn't honestly dislike this ending.
I didn't dislike it. If it didn't happen that way, I would have been fine.
Yeah.
I actually thought it might have ended up being closer to the original, but in ways it does, but in ways it takes a different path. It's fine.
I mean, the final shot, I will say,
Is cool.
is really scary.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And to know what that character has to face
Yep.
and what that character could possibly understand or not, that's terrifying.
I mean, that's how you set up sequel, honestly.
Yeah. Or if they really, really wanted to, find a way to connect it to the next It. In some way, shape, or form. Just a
neat.
news story or
Yeah.
an urban legend or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That would be neat.
That would be neat.
But anyway, so my question was, do you feel... I don't know how to ask this question. Let me tell you what my answer to a question I don't know how to ask is. I'm not sure if I ever really need to see this version again. I'm fine with the original. I'm fine with stuff that they did differently. I don't dislike this movie. I actually had a good time watching this movie. I don't know if I needed it. And one thing that a lot of people in the ether seem to forget is that just because they remake it doesn't ruin the original. You can just always go back and watch the original.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I would probably rather watch the one I grew up with,
Yeah.
but I can also understand younger people who maybe didn't grow up with it, didn't live with that movie for 30 years, liking this one
I'm so
a little bit more.
I'm disappointed in the marketing of this movie because
Yeah.
I think I might have actually enjoyed it more if I didn't know what the second trailer spoiled.
Yeah, sure.
Which really kind of bums me out.
If somebody was to say 6 months from now, hey, Geoff, do you want to rent a movie and just hang out or whatever? What do you want to watch? I haven't seen Pet Sematary. Sure.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. Absolutely, I'd want to watch it again. I don't need to watch it again, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Oh, I agree. One thing that was really hard for me to get out of was thinking about Fred Gwynn. Because he plays that character so well, the Judd character.
He is the least wooden thing in that original one.
Yeah.
And he is the life of
He's
that
the life
movie.
for the movie, and he plays everything with this. It's not over the top, but with this perfect peak of emotion. Like he gives everything the right amount in that movie, and John Lithgow was fine, but he seemed a little bit more flat.
Yeah, he was. I kind of chalk that up to his character has a slightly different baggage with him.
Yeah.
I feel like when he apologizes for introducing Lewis, you can see that there's something more he's carrying with it. That's not seemingly there with Fred Gwynn, but Fred Gwynn was such a jovial character that.
Here's what unsettles me about that. So they both, and this isn't a spoiler, they both tell Jamie, right? Or
Lewis,
yes, thank you. They both tell Lewis about the Pet Sematary, and we're going to bury Church up there. And they both have this kind of, it's just a bad thing to do, and they know it is, but they're sort of intoxicated by it, and they think that maybe this time it'll be different.
Yes.
And I think with Lithgow, they play his character a little. He plays his character a little off. He's like, this could be creepy guy. This could be. There
is one little question that you can ask. I mean, we're not going to talk about it in with spoilers or anything, but I do wonder if there's a darker tone to that character in particular.
And so, when things start to spiral out of control, he's overcome with remorse, and he rightfully, honestly, he's the one who took them down this path. And they especially connect that even more so with the cat, right? I can't remember in '89 if the cat
was there first. The cat and Gage were they were familiars of one another.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but in the '89 version, Fred Gwynn is he's a character that King writes well.
Yeah.
This sort of very,
folksy,
very friendly, folksy,
yep.
like a character that you meet in a novel. Usually, when you meet a King character like that, they're good.
Yeah.
And they are
the constant good.
They are objectively good.
Right.
Yes. And they are going to be the character that you love in that book, right?
Right.
And he is absolutely that character in the 1989 version, which makes the decisions he makes, and the same decisions John Lithgow's Judd makes, all the more, I think, manipulating. Like,
Okay, yeah.
that makes me feel like this is Atticus Finch who's just led us astray, right?
Right.
It almost feels like a betrayal with Fred Gwynne. And he doesn't see it that way necessarily.
Well, he's just trying to do right by a little girl who's going to be wrecked by the death of her cat.
Right. But at the same time, he knows better.
Yes.
And you expect more from his Judd than you do from Lithgow's.
Fair enough. I can see that.
So that's...
Yes. Whereas I feel as though I have a little bit more... I have a little bit more positive feeling about Lewis in the remake than I do Dale Midkiff's.
Yeah.
But some of that, again, is the acting styles that were on display. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. Some people are going to immediately give it negative points going in because it's not the original.
Yeah, well...
And it's going to, like, whatever points it does get, it's never going to equal.
Well, look, if you don't want a remake, don't see the remake. There's shit tons of fucking remakes to movies that I love that I haven't seen the remake of because I know it's going to be garbage.
If you're sitting here thinking, man, why did they have to remake my favorite horror movie growing up? God damn them, or whatever. Then just go see Shazam. There are a couple of scenes of legitimate horror in Shazam that you can get much more enjoyment for, and it's something brand new. And spoiler alert, it's a fun fucking DC movie. Go see that instead.
All right. I know we need to wrap this up because these are short episodes, but why do you think that really is? Psychologically, why do people get so worked up about a remake to their favorite movie that isn't very good? I have a theory.
Well, because nostalgia can be both euphoric and toxic to a person's psyche.
I think that's partly true, but I also think that people... Number one, when something that they love gets remade, it becomes more apparent that you're not the only person who loves this movie.
Well, yeah.
Or that there isn't the small group of people that you thought were the only ones that love this movie. It becomes less exclusive to you.
Well, it's the whole idea of why do certain people say that you need to go out and date a virgin because she's unsoiled by other people and you feel less special because of that.
That's quite a metaphor, but yeah.
It's the same idea, though. I mean, it's the same. It is bred into people, and when people are trying to find...
That's bred into men, but okay.
Well, but who's mostly upset about it?
It's true. It is mostly fucking male rage, yes.
Yeah, but it comes from a place that it's... when they feel like an outsider and they feel like things that make them special or different, they don't like sharing that with people because it's part of their identity.
Well, not only do they not like sharing it, but they also then feel like they have to scream louder than everyone else about why this is stupid because that makes them feel like they're a bigger fan.
Well, what's the thing that ruins everything? The fandom.
Fucking fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I'll admit, if someone tomorrow said we're remaking Phantom of the Paradise, I would probably, like, for a minute lose my mind. But then I'd be like, well, I wonder what the hell they do with that.
Well, it's like
it might be curious, and I always watch the original.
That's exactly what I said when people were crapping on Netflix remaking Cowboy Bebop. Are you so desperate that you need to see something new that you can't that you can't go back to the original? Because for 20 years, you've watched the original one. Those 26 episodes have never changed.
Yep.
So anyway, go watch the original one. If you don't like this, that's fine. And you can say that you don't like this one. You can say that the pacing's different. It is different. It is a different movie, and for some people, it won't connect. That's fine.
Yeah.
For me, I like it. I recommend it.
Yeah, I recommend it too. I think it's fine. I don't know that it's going to stick with you like the 89 version did. I don't know if someone who's never seen the 89 version will think that this will stick with them.
Maybe it will.
But it would be cool to see. It would.
Maybe people half our age will see this movie and it will become something that they'll watch.
If anything's going to stick with me, for better or worse, it's the ending.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we recommend it. We don't recommend Toxic Fans.
Ha!
Anyway, every Wednesday you can hear us talking about older movies that we can always watch and always revisit and love. And that's on filmseizure.com. Mondays, listen to me talking about monster movies. I like monster movies.
No.
I do.
No.
I'm even going to watch stuff I don't like that much and still find 3 things I like about it. That's the name of the game over there. Anyway, you can always catch that stuff on filmseizure.com on Wednesdays and Mondays. iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and TuneIn. Also, you can get stuff like that. Next,
we're on the Gobblegoop. We're on the Scoopaga.
Yep, all of those.
And we're on the Flobber Gobber.
Yep.
All those places you can hear our episodes.
We're coming to get you, PewDiePie. we're coming to get you. Anyway, until the next time you listen to something of ours, I am Geoff Arbuckle.
I am Jason Oliver, and this was Film Seizure at the Movies.
It's not some campfire story.
Saw these in the trees up there.
They're warnings. The local tribes carved them before they fled. They feared that place. There's something up there.